Aye.
Okay, it's defeated on a 2-2 vote, but you've made the point.
Okay.
All right, now let's entertain a motion on the ordinance.
There's just one question I have, and I'll get right off of it. I just want to make sure of something, and I had it down here. It's very important. On page 14 of 22, materials, 7 years under location G. I'm sorry, under G. Subparagraph G, materials, okay, and it says gravel driveways and concrete strip driveways for properties other than single-family residence shall be brought into conformance within the provisions of subsection within 7 years of adoption of the LDRs. Isn't this due right now, Mr. City Attorney?
Well, these rules were promulgated in 2009, so 7 years. My math says 2016.
Oh, okay. Was it 16? I thought it was.
Yes, sir.
We did this before 09.
No, this.
Oh, it was 09.
This passed in 09. These LDRs passed in
wow.
09.
Okay, so in 16.
In 16, this becomes
any rental
enforceable.
property has to have it paid.
Yes, sir. This
Okay,
becomes
all right,
enforceable.
all right. I thought it was earlier than that. I thought it was.
All right, you're satisfied, Kenny?
Yeah,
with that
I
one?
got it. That
Okay,
answered
then
my
let's
question.
get a motion on the floor to
I
adopt
make a
the
motion that we
ordinance.
pass the ordinance.
Kenny moves to pass the
Second it.
ordinance, seconded by Mr. Ernst. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
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 Against.
Okay, 3-1, it passes, and we understand and
Yeah, yeah.
accept that.
You're
Yeah.
saying they're 5 feet. I have no idea of any place in the city where I can touch the building and the curb with my hands, which
Yeah.
are more than a 5-foot span.
Yeah.
It seems to be always more
We're
than that.
trying to get there, and it's a process. It's a bit of a grind, but we're making it work. All right. Let me see. Where was the? I've got my papers. Let's see. Recommendations. All right. Background. Nope, not that one. We're getting so much material in the packets that here we go. All right. Next item. Old business, we have none. New business, the passing of former planning commissioner, Mr. Henry William Bill Suckup Jr. I trust you all read the obituary. Bill obviously was a really significant person. He was a marvelous member of the Planning Commission. I believe he must have been a very fine member of the Board of Adjustment as well before he moved to Planning Commission. Bill's leadership is going to be missed by this city. People like Bill don't get replaced. They may get succeeded, but they're not replaced. He was a highly qualified and distinguished gentleman, and his passing is noted with deep regret. Now we open for a discussion regarding the recently adopted Ordinance 1370 requiring Planning Commission member terms to be coterminous with terms of City Council members. Bill, this was your item. Do you want to, we have the handout from staff.
Yes, I was just to refresh, I was just expressing concern, not for myself or anyone else on any particular board, but for the elected officials. That the elected officials, let's say if you have someone that's in a minority in terms of a general direction that they might have, you don't want that official to be undermined just by a simple majority vote. In other words, we have 5 council people, and each of them have allocations to appoint various people to various seats on various boards. I think that's their prerogative to select that, and an entitlement for those people who have been elected to make that appointment. Would it be right for 3 of the people on the council to just say, well, we don't like that council member, let's just get rid of all their appointments, and especially for no reason at all? I can understand, I appreciate and put in this language that if the appointing council person also agreed with them, in other words, would not be undermined, and they said, I'll agree to release this person along with a majority, then it becomes something that is democratic and representational. Otherwise, it really leads to we haven't seen it, but it could lead to a sort of gang-up situation where a majority of council people, whether it be 3 or 4, can completely supplant the intentions of one council person or 2 council people. And I don't think that's what we want to be able to allow. I think the election system, and there are other measures in place to assure that.
You're saying a political vendetta.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, to avoid that.
Now, but you don't have a problem with a new council person getting elected and...
Making appointments.
Right.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I-
Not at all. This is really for the time when everybody sees that, oh, I'm in control, I'm making my appointments, and things are wonderful. No, this is for that time when you're all of a sudden the minority view, and you want to protect that minority right.
Oh, I read this today with a great deal of interest, and it's kind of interesting. When I looked at the Planning Commission, then I looked at the Board of Adjustment was kind of the same language. Then I went over to the Business Development Board. And why was theirs 3/5 and ours was, the rest of the language was, what the heck was it? Removal, 3 affirmative votes, but by 3/5 vote in subsection D. And the other thing I kind of found very interesting was, in order to help defray their expenses resulting from serving on the board, the members shall receive such compensation as is from time to time determined by the city council. And that's for members on the Business Development Board. And I felt like, well, maybe our expertise and sacrifice isn't as worthy as the people on the Downtown Business Development Board. Are we, for some reason, equal rights? I know there's a campaign out there, but I mean, what happened? Don't we count too? Is our brains not as important as the downtown, as the Business Development Board? I just kind of, and why is that removal? Members can be removed from office by 3/5 vote of the city council. And then on the other side of the fence, you're looking at the Board of Adjustments, and it says removal 3 affirmative votes of the city council. I mean, that's just.
It's an interesting point.
I was just wondering, how come we
Mr.
don't
Galdos, why do we go 3/5 on one page and say 3 votes on the other, when the end result is the same?
Maybe it's when it was written. It was
Well, 3 affirmative votes and 3/5 would be the same.
As long as we've got 5 on the council.
Right, as long as you have 5 on the council.
Maybe when it was written like that.
Exactly. It did not contemplate a period of time where there may be less than 5 members of council.
Which, in fact, we happen to have at the moment.
And most of this language is, we have tweaked the Board of Adjustments ordinances in the past relating to attendance. And I believe that there was a member of this commission who has passed on, and he tried very hard, unsuccessfully, to obtain some kind of, coverage for expenses. So that was,
in the Business Development?
well, it was either in this board or the Board of Adjustment. It might have been the Board of Adjustment.
I think we used to get $10 for showing up or something. I don't know if we still do it.
Yeah, we get.
Still has to be approved by City Council.
Yeah, we get $10 for every meeting we attend, for better and worse, till death do us part. Well, we have this issue that Bill has raised. Do we want to recommend the ordinance be modified to reflect Bill's thinking?
I think that's a good point. I really do.
You'd support it?
I do, because
Okay, good.
not that we would have, not that this current council you have any nefarious shenanigans, but it is a good safeguard. It's to me, by promoting this, I think it would be innocuous. It's harmless to say to the city council, look, this is a safeguard. It's good for everybody. You have one council person up there who may not be so well liked, but this protects that council person's philosophical viewpoint and his appointees. So why not?
Mr. Ernst, do you support this?
Absolutely.
All right. I do as well. That makes it effectively an affirmative vote. Now, do we call for a motion to endorse this?
I need some clarification. You have the ordinance, I believe, a copy of the ordinance in front of you.
Right.
What is the language that you would like to see amended? Just to be
D.
clear.
I did it in capital letters. D, removal. A majority of votes of the city council shall be required in order to remove a board or commission member, provided that one of the votes of the majority represents the official who made the original appointment. With said support, no cause need be shown for removal. And then you continue with the language that exists on the...
And what page are we reading that from?
This is
This
on,
is off of the email
it's
on,
after the
Chairman.
obituary.
Yeah.
up on your front page.
So you're wanting
go,
to
at the bottom
replace
there.
what's currently D,
D,
the language
correct.
that's in D in its entirety.
So we're,
Correct.
therefore,
And replacing it with.
Let me bring something up. It just kind of dawned on me, if I may. I don't remember, I don't want to mention the man's name, he's now deceased. And Clarence Patterson was our city manager. And this individual came in and gave Clarence a hard time. He had been a political activist in the city. And he used a couple of nasty racial epithets with Clarence. And let's say, just for argument's sake, this person was appointed by Councilman Y. And that councilman had, or that council person had no desire to get rid of that individual. But this gentleman's conduct was so egregious and so vile that 4 of the other people on this board wanted that person removed. How do you deal with that then under this ordinance?
I think we tolerate it the same way we do national politics.
But you follow what I'm saying, Bill? I'll when
Yeah.
we're off the diet, well,
Yeah. You'd have to convince the council, in this case, you'd have to convince the council person to be part of that majority vote to remove that person.
What I'm talking about, and you know, if a person's conduct is
If the conduct can't withstand the light of day, the person needs to be removed. However, I
I think-
recognize what you're saying.
Yeah.
By doing this, we
Doesn't-
would prevent that from
And that-
happening.
that be-
I'm trying to remember within the charter that any member of any board can be removed by other board members. Is that correct? By a vote of the majority of the board, if they feel that that person is.
I don't particularly see that. Not by
I-
no. The power to appoint and remove rests with our council,
Solely with the council,
and it would be it would have to be a delegation of those powers to these boards
yeah,
to be able to do the same.
right.
So while you
But if
can
there's
suggest a
conduct
manner of
detrimental to-
removal, it's still within their power to remove, appoint and remove. It's legislative in nature.
And similarly, we wouldn't want 3 council members to vote off 1 or 2 other council
Right.
members.
Yeah, right.
There's a
I
certain
agree with, I understand what you're
representation and
saying.
solidity there.
But there's, but there's no real code of conduct or issues involving
Not that's enforceable the way
removal
we
that
do it
are
right
enforceable,
now.
right?
And
There's
maybe
nothing
that's what we should
enforceable.
be doing, is a code of conduct. I go along, you know, in addendum to this, a code of conduct for people, because I remember that, and I was quite
Yeah.
taken back by that.
And the
He was
Yeah, I agree with
subsequently
you.
removed. Well, look, the council at that
Well,
time did.
a counselor, can censorship be issued upon that person, or in some way,
Could the planning commission vote to
There's-
censure a member?
You know, a member who, if the behavior is so egregious, as just mentioned, as it did occur, you know, that should be cause enough for the majority of the council to muster the votes necessary to remove that
Yeah,
individual.
but suppose the appointing authority didn't want to do it. I mean, you're paying the political risk. I
You know,
don't
it's-
see it, but
it is-
I don't.
Right.
You know,
I'm just throwing that out there, and maybe I'm mucking up the works.
That council person sort of leaves themselves exposed to saying, hey, you made this appointment, and you're still allowing this to happen. It makes them look very
It
bad.
becomes his liability.
Yeah, I
But
think
at
the
the
council
same
person
time,
would.
the problem
I
isn't going
support- I
away.
support what you're trying to do here, so let's rock and roll with it.
All right, let's
All right.
move this forward then. We're adopting item D as a recommendation that be incorporated into the ordinance and substitution of language be made.
I make
All
that
right.
motion.
Bill Prevotel moves.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Ernst. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, unanimous, thank you. Now, are we ready to once again view the Columbus, Indiana YouTube video?
If we're okay, I believe it is set up, and if I can make a brief note of introduction and also of sort of what should be a follow-up, but I would like us to be able to in the future, and I'd like it to be as part of the agenda, that if any member has something that they'd like to contribute, an article they'd like to bring in or something that they'd like to make reference to in future sessions, that there should be some accommodation of that, meaning that in the announcements of our meetings, there should be sort of a blank line saying, presentation on part of the commissioners, and we may have a presentation, we may not. But let's say there was something we were particularly discussing this evening. Do we voted on? Do we bring in the information, the evidence, the background material at a later date, or do we bring it at that time? So therefore, if we're worried about the legality of it, let us announce that there will be some sort of presentation of material, of which, like a citizen forum, of which there may be none, or there may be something. And let's not trip up on it legally, but allow it to be able to have this exchange. I don't think the sunshine laws are about trying to stop
Right, but-
information from being presented.
You still have to notice. You still have to notice items in specifics. Is
Yeah, it
that
has to
correct,
be-
Mr.?
There has to be a
Mr.
public advertisement to be able to deal with it that
Councilman?
way. That's,
or-
we're limited in
Mr.
the
Galdos?
impromptu things we can bring
You
up.
do have to have specific language with regards to any item that is being discussed, correct? Even if it's up with, as Mr. Prevotel
it should be
stated.
made part of the agenda so that members of the public are aware of
Right.
what's being discussed and can be in attendance should they desire to speak
Right.
up on any
It-
item.
It can't be broad language. In other words,
Well,
we can't say, tonight we're discussing a YouTube video.
Well, you could,
Or-
as you will find in the city council commission agendas, you'll see discussion items for
Discussion
discussion
items.
purposes only.
Yeah.
It's not,
Right, okay.
nothing to be voted on.
Right,
Or,
right, and no public
so you'll
notice.
have a discussion. I mean, obviously, you want to articulate to the best way
Right.
possible the message that you're trying to portray for
But at
that,
the
for that
same time,
event.
you can't start developing legislation out of that discussion unless you say.
Well, you would have to have a sponsor if you're going to start,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, you need
That
a,
could then be set on the agenda the following
It could be
month.
set for
Right.
an
If you
agenda
chose to do
item.
that.
Okay, may I, again, then with reference to that, may I just go back to our parking garages? I understand staff did an excellent job, and I wanted to ask, you said we had 21 parking garages in the city?
23.
23.
23.
23, 23? Okay,
I don't want to ask where they're all hiding.
well, are we going to get a list of them, and you wanted some direction, the staff would like some direction? I'd like to see a list of them if we could for the next meeting, and
We can provide a list of the existing parking garages,
that would be
and
great.
we can provide that too at the next meeting.
That'd be wonderful, because what I'd like to do is visually go around looking at them and then come back with some different ideas.
But you raise a point. Tonight's discussion was on parking garages. We could talk to the cows come home regarding different things and different characteristics about parking garages, but does that mean we couldn't all of a sudden introduce and say, oh, and I got a picture of a parking garage, or here are plans, and if you can allow a picture or plans,
Why
why
not?
can't you take some, and we can also take public input, why couldn't we also show additional information or have additional discussion or a newspaper article? It seems like there should be a blank phrase that says, in pertaining to this topic, parking garages or trees or parks, that there will be supplemental material, a time for supplemental material, if warranted.
Well, I would certainly like to see us open the door to these things as we go down the road, but if we don't move on to the video, we're not going to get there.
Okay, that's it.
Let's get the
Okay.
video rolling.
And,
Okay.
when I was originally starting,
Chair would like to formally recognize this distinguished young man that's chosen to come in this evening a bit late and sit in the audience.
come up front here. Come up. Come on up for viewing the video. Come.
Yeah.
Probably
you got
better
it.
view.
Get more comfortable there.
I see.
And may I just point out on this video, this is not, to be very, very clear, this is not about urban design, quote, urban design, the shaping of the streets and the parks and alignments and setbacks and such. This is not that at all. This is not necessarily about parks or any other specific design. This is just about a community that has given greater attention to some of their projects on an object basis, that rather than looking like this, they've gone this route, and that there is some merit to it. And I am not going to say that any of the buildings are necessarily good design. I'll leave that to everybody's decision, everybody's own personal opinion. But I think
it's about the impact of design on a city.
Exactly, and that I think it shows a good effort to try to make something better than what might ordinarily be. And with that, if we could have the video. Thank you.
This is Columbus, Indiana, a place you'll find the unexpected and the unforgettable. It's a small town with a big city attitude, and there's a lot to see and do here, from the arts to sports to stunning gardens and parks to the city's national treasure. Over 60 buildings and landscapes designed by some of the most noted and influential architects of the 20th century. There are 6 National Historic Landmarks of modern architecture here. 3 churches, a private home, a public school, and a bank, all true American treasures of art. The city's internationally celebrated architecture also includes postmodern and contemporary design, spanning decades of growth in Columbus, where the goal in architecture is excellence. That same goal for excellence drives every aspect of city life. In 2006, Columbus won the America in Bloom Award for its well-designed and maintained gardens, parks, and green spaces, including 638 acres that make up 18 city parks. Columbus boasts a large installation of exciting public art. Spread throughout town, these works inspire the imagination and create an energetic and unique cityscape. This is also home to international business, a Fortune 500 world headquarters, and 3 higher education institutions. There's a diverse population here with a strong economy and a skilled workforce. Located near several large metropolitan cities, Columbus sits at the crossroads of national transportation. The story of how this city came to be home to a national treasure of modern and contemporary architecture reveals the power of this community's desire for excellence. The desire that has shaped a vibrant, inspirational, can-do culture. In the early 1940s, a radically new kind of architecture came to this city. A local congregation was building a new church and wanted a contemporary design instead of a traditional one. They offered the project to architect Elio Saarinen, a recent immigrant from Finland. Saarinen initially declined the job in Columbus until one of the parishioners, J. Irwin Miller, asked for a chance to talk to him. Miller won over Saarinen with his argument that the congregation was seeking an architect who could find the right expression for their desire to live a rich inner life and a simple outer life. The first Christian church, completed in 1942, was the first contemporary building in Columbus and one of the first modern churches anywhere in America. It is the oldest of the 6 National Historic Landmarks in the city, and it's one of the most beloved buildings in Columbus. In the 1950s, the population of Columbus was expanding with the post-war boom. The city needed new schools. Again, J. Irwin Miller stepped in. He encouraged the city to find modern architects to design the schools. Exciting city architecture, he thought, would help Columbus be seen as a forward-thinking community, one that would attract businesses and top-level managers looking for opportunity. And hiring architects with ideas that required new construction methods and materials would help the city reach its goal, to build with quality. To finance the schools and afford the architects' fees, Miller proposed the creation of a public-private partnership for the first new school, the Lillian C. Schmidt Elementary. His plan was this. His company's foundation, the Cummins Engine Foundation, would donate the design fees if the school board would agree to choose an architect from a list prepared by the foundation. Costs for construction would come from the school corporation, and the school board would supervise the projects. After the first school was successfully built through that partnership, the school board asked if the Cummins Engine Foundation would contribute the design fees for other schools. They did. And what came to be known as the architecture program was born. With that program in place, modern and contemporary architects saw Columbus as a city that welcomed their bold ideas. By the 60s, the national press and architecture critics had noticed the innovative designs of Columbus. Important architects of the day began to lobby for projects here. The city attracted the great talents of I.M. Pei, Eero Saarinen, Richard Meyer, Robert Stern, Kevin Roach, Harry Weiss, John Warnecke, Robert Venturi, and Gunnar Burkhardt, to name but a few. The Cummins Engine Foundation's architecture program expanded over time to support other buildings, including the regional hospital. The foundation helped bring public art to the city, as well as landscape and streetscape projects. Private citizens and businesses also chose innovative architects when building homes and churches, offices, and factories. Each architect who has designed here has helped create this community of remarkable buildings. Columbus has been ranked 6th for innovation of design by the American Institute of Architects, putting it in league with Chicago, New York, San Francisco, Boston, and Washington, D.C. When commenting on the value of the architecture program he started, Miller said that what is built reflects what a city thinks of itself and what it aims to be.
I think the buildings that we move around in have an enormous influence on us. The better the building serves its purpose, the longer it'll last before you have to tear it down. And I think it's a mediocrity is expensive, because you may have to build 3 inadequate buildings in the same period of time that one good one would last.
What's great about Columbus, and I don't see it anywhere else, in any other city, is underlying all of the sort of architecture is a kind of continual return to a reimagining of the future. You can look at it historically, as a series of buildings done over time. But what makes them all interesting is the fact that those series of buildings done over a period of time were all thinking about the future. Underneath it all is this incredible sort of optimism.
Adding to the impact of the exceptional architecture in Columbus are landscape designs that have garnered countless prestigious awards. The successful marriage of buildings and landscapes here make the city a visual delight. The early designs of renowned landscape architects Dan Kiley, Henry Phillips, and Jack Curtis were the benchmarks for quality and beauty in Columbus. Dan Kiley's talents made many contributions to Columbus. Among his works are the stunning grounds of the North Christian Church, the majestic setting of the First Baptist Church, and the innovative environments of many of the Irwin Union Bank properties. The design of special landscapes has continued in Columbus. One is the award-winning Mill Race Park by Michael van Valkenburg, an innovative use of distressed land. The design reclaimed 86 acres of marginal value floodplain next to the White River and turned it into a beautiful downtown park of open spaces and curving vistas that provide a gathering place for outdoor activities, concerts, and quiet moments.
The great thing about Mill Race is that it shows a community taking a piece of land that might have been thought of as not useful and making something fantastic there. There was this amazing way that the park was built. This was not a traditional building process where a contractor was hired and built the whole thing, but a civilian youth corps through a federal program did a great deal of the work on the project. Many of the contractors in Columbus did the work at cost. Mill Race was a grassroots effort that showed the extent to which design is a broadly valued thing in this community.
There is a tree beyond this world, and its ancient roots a song its curl. I am the fool whose life's been spent between what's said and what is meant.
The activities calendar here is chock full of music and street festivals. The Columbus Philharmonic and the Columbus Symphony offer yearly seasons of performances. And recreational and sporting events take advantage of top-rated facilities in town. Golfers enjoy the links of the Robert Trent Jones designed course at Otter Creek, ranked 31st of America's 100 greatest golf courses by Golf Digest. The 19-mile paved People Trail that runs the length of the city beckons walkers and bikers of all ages. It's not only an exercise trail, but also a nature path that winds past beautiful southern Indiana scenery. Families find lots of activities at Kids Commons, a 12,000 square foot children's museum. There's a climbing wall, the body bubble, a giant toilet slide, and lots of games that teach about the world. Kids Commons also serves as a special place for parties and celebrations. Columbus has numerous playgrounds in its city parks. The newest is Freedom Field, designed as an all-inclusive playground with accessibility for all children and adults, including those with special needs. For indoor fun, summer or winter, there's the ice arena at the Hamilton Center, where skaters practice their figures or just glide and spin. Downtown is the heart of the city. Locally owned stores and boutiques offer shoppers specialty items for unique gifts or for that one-of-a-kind purchase for the home. The works of local artists are available in downtown stores, along with distinctive crafts and furniture. A well-stocked bookstore and a Cook's Gourmet shop spice up the downtown shopping experience. Locally owned restaurants serve up fine fare for lunch or dinner. And city hotels offer sophisticated and convenient accommodations. Nearby, just off Interstate 65, is the Edinburgh Premium Outlet Mall, a giant outlet complex that draws shoppers of all ages for a day or for a weekend of bargain hunting in top name-brand stores. At Edinburgh, there's always a sale going on. Columbus is a forward-thinking community with an exciting vision of the future. This city of unexpected sights and pleasures is a destination to visit over and over again. Each time, there's a promise of discovering something new and enjoyable. The time you spend in Columbus will truly be unforgettable.
Excellent program. Thank you very much, Bill, for bringing that to our attention. And certainly as the chairperson of this commission, I would hope you would bring us other YouTube video productions on design and planning.
Okay.
Now,
do we have that on the agenda, or do we need to announce things like that so much in advance is a question. I'm hoping that we have some accommodation for anybody bringing some material in the
I
future.
think the danger is if we get into a quasi-judicial hearing, we have to be a little careful with that.
Well, can there be a point after each meeting or so that might be possible? So it's not actually part of the particular. Well, not after adjournment, no, but after the vote has been taken, if nothing else. Either prior or after the.
I'm sorry, but what is the question?
Well, I want to make sure that he has the freedom to propose additional videos for us to view without getting into evidentiary conflicts.
I can't speak for the administration. I don't know what the process is for airing, for providing. This is something that is totally beyond the scope of my office. I know that there's requirements from the administration to air such documents, make it available. And I can't speak for the administration. The process would have to be, whatever transpired to get this video on, we would have to follow because I'm not part.
All right.
I can't speak for the administration.
When you find a video, let us know, and we'll announce it for the following Planning Commission meeting. That way it can be advertised.
Okay.
And that way we don't have any conflict.
And one of the great points of this video is that every project, every building, whatever it might be, is a design opportunity. And it's just not saying, oh, it's a nuisance, let's let that building or this building, or it's just a utility building go. This place has better, phone bank things and steam plants and everything else than some of our best buildings. And matter of fact, some of the buildings that I prefer haven't even been shown in this video. It's not necessarily the best works of any of the particular architects that are known nationally and worldwide, but it is this great sampling of them. Our MoCA Museum is by Charlie Gwathmey, and he also has representation there, a project of equal or greater stature than our MoCA building. And I'm just trying to encourage us that everything we do is an opportunity, and I hope that we don't let that slip by to make it better rather than us sitting back and rubber stamping things that we demand a higher level on behalf of our community.
I think we need to encourage city staff to move forward on design and review standards. But having said that, in order to work our way through this, on your next video, tell us and let us announce it for the following month so it
Certainly.
will be properly advertised until we can work out the protocols on
In
this.
case you didn't catch it, Columbus,
don't mix
Indiana
them up, Bill.
is,
Don't
is,
bring any
is a
X-rated stuff.
population that's just slightly smaller. Population just slightly smaller than North Miami and probably about the same size.
Yes.
And yet we have a better geography. We have a better climate. We have better proximity
and yet
to.
they have gone and
everything
built
else.
a better mousetrap.
Exactly.
I noticed
All right.
a lot of land there, though. There was an awful lot of open land
What
that,
appears to be-
unfortunately,
what
that we
appears
don't
to be.
have.
We don't have it
So,
anymore. Yeah.
You know,
Well, maybe we created out of our sprawl.
certainly we did,
that's-
and the communities around us. Don't forget, we're surrounded by other communities who are alike.
Right.
You know, we're all cookie cutter little communities here, and
So,
All right. I have one last item I'm bringing up to the commissioners as a point of information with the expectation it will become an agenda item in the not too distant future. Recently, we received the Miami-Dade Sea Level Rise Task Force report and recommendations. It was presented to the Board of County Commissioners today at their meeting. A great deal of time and effort and research went into this project, and the direct impact for us as a planning commission has to do with those recommendations that would likely be affecting our land development regulations in the future. I'm not prepared to speak to any of the specifics tonight. I simply want to make you aware of it and want to give you an opportunity to review this report and ask staff that we make this an agenda item in the future, perhaps at the next month, which would be August when we're in recess, so that means probably
September
September
2nd.
September 2nd.
Yeah, I think so.
For the purpose of being able to begin the process of discussing the impact of these recommendations on our LDRs, since we need to begin the review of the LDRs in the coming year. This could affect everything from seawall construction to the ground level clearance on buildings, to the setbacks, to the location of generators and emergency storage and electric in buildings, as to what floor and what height. A lot of things could be in this.
and drainage.
And drainage, absolutely. So I want this to be given some consideration, but it's going to take some research. Now, what I've got tonight is 2 hard copies and 2 CDs. I have a hard copy at my office. So, Mr. James, would you like to come up at this point? Because you're going to get something here tonight as a giveaway, whether you wanted it or not. And I need each of you to tell me your preferences on whether you would prefer the CD version or the hard copy version.
Take a CD.
You'll take a CD. You'll take a CD. All right, that's all I've got. You get a hard copy. Come on up here, sir. You're getting a hard copy. Now, it's some 200-odd pages. I would have made more copies, but our computers at our office are so under-supported, have such limited memory, that even working off the website issues, we couldn't begin to download the data. It just, the system's crashed. We're just not there, sadly. So you've got what I was able to put together, and I was able to get 2 CDs made for us. I want us to begin addressing these recommendations. It's going to take a while. I don't expect we're going to blow through this in 10 minutes. I think this may be a continuing agenda item through the fall because we want to take a look at this. We want to take a look at the recommendations. We want to address these, keep these in mind when we begin dealing with the LDRs in what I hope will be 2015. And I trust that they come up for review around that time. Ballpark. So we need to be forewarned and forearmed and be as educated as we can be on the impact of some of these issues. So having said that,
Do you expect that the county would start reaching out with community workshops?
this
with
is intended to have impact on county and municipalities.
Yeah.
But this is their report, and I think if we wait around for other governments to do other things with other workshops, we could be waiting a very long time.
Right.
We have the opportunity to review this fresh off the press, so to speak, take advantage of the research that went into it, and see where it might apply to our own LDRs going forward. And certainly, I think we're going to be seeing this report referenced periodically over the next couple of years, and I wouldn't want us to be too far behind the 8 ball. Having said that, gentlemen, our meeting will be September 2nd. And if there's no other business to come before the commission, I believe we... Yes.
I just want to say thank you for the hard work you did on that parking garage.
You're
And
welcome.
to our illustrious deputy
Yes.
city attorney, thank you for all the work and
Staff
time you
needs
put
to be
in.
commended on this one
Really,
because
you guys did a good job.
we've been
Thank you.
hammering parking garages for years, and it's about time we started
you.
to see some movement on that.
Thank
Now,
you.
if we can hammer on the building height issues and get them incorporated into the buildings and not penalize developers, we may see progress before I'm dead and buried. It's distinctly possible. I'm certainly have more hope and encouragement tonight than I've had in a long time, and thank you, Mr. Prevotel. So,
Mr.
with that in
Chairman.
mind, if there's no further business, we stand adjourned. 5 minutes of 9. Thank you. I'm off to Jimmy's for dinner before I starve to death. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for